There was a time when I thought I had completely lost my motivation. I'd wake up with big plans. I was going to work out, read more, start that project I'd been putting off, get my life together. But then, I'd scroll on my phone for an hour, watch a few YouTube videos, tell myself I'd start after lunch, then after dinner, then tomorrow. Tomorrow became next week became next month, and eventually I started believing something was wrong with me. I thought maybe I was just lazy. Maybe I didn't have enough discipline. Maybe I wasn't built like those people online who wake up at 5 a.m., hit the gym, and somehow have their entire life figured out before breakfast. The more I compared myself to them, the worse I felt, because they always seemed motivated, and I never did. But one day, I realized something. Motivation wasn't the problem. I was. Or more specifically, the way I understood motivation was completely wrong. I spent years waiting to feel motivated before I started doing something. I'd think, I'll clean my room when I feel motivated. I'll go to the gym when I feel motivated. I'll start studying when motivation comes back. The problem? It never came. Or if it did, it disappeared almost immediately. Then I noticed something interesting. The days I actually got things done. I wasn't motivated when I started. I became motivated after I started. That completely changed the way I looked at productivity. Because motivation isn't usually what starts action. Action creates motivation. Think about going to the gym. Have you ever noticed how the hardest part is getting there? Once you're actually working out, it's not that bad. Or cleaning your room. Starting feels impossible. But 10 minutes later, you're wondering why you put it off all day. The hardest part is almost always the beginning. Your brain loves comfort. It wants to conserve energy. It wants what's familiar. That's why starting something difficult feels so uncomfortable. Not because you're lazy, because your brain is trying to keep you where it's safe. Another thing I realized was that I had made my goals way too big. I'd tell myself I was going to study for 4 hours, work out for 90 minutes, completely change my life starting Monday. It sounded exciting, for about 5 minutes. Then I'd look at everything I expected from myself and feel overwhelmed before I even began, so I'd do nothing. Eventually, I learned something that sounds almost too simple. Make the goal so small that you can't say no. Instead of saying, I'm going to read for an hour, read 1 page. Instead of saying, I'm going to run 5 miles, put on your shoes and walk outside. Instead of saying, I'm going to completely change my life. Ask yourself, what's the smallest thing I can do right now? It doesn't sound impressive, but consistency beats intensity every single time. I also realized that I was constantly draining my motivation without even noticing. Every spare second I'd reach for my phone. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, another scroll, another video, another dopamine hit. Then I'd sit down to do something important, and suddenly it felt unbearably boring. The problem wasn't that work became harder. The problem was that my brain had gotten used to constant entertainment. When everything around you is designed to grab your attention in seconds. Of course, studying feels slow. Of course, reading feels difficult. Of course, real life seems less exciting. Your brain isn't broken. It's overstimulated. And the more overstimulated you become, the harder it is to focus on things that actually matter. One thing that helped me more than I expected was letting myself be bored. Seriously, instead of reaching for my phone every time I had 30 seconds of free time, I'd just sit there. At first it felt uncomfortable, almost painful, but after a while, something interesting happened. My attention started coming back. Simple things became enjoyable again. Reading wasn't impossible. Thinking wasn't impossible. Working wasn't impossible. I had simply given my brain a chance to slow down. Another reason I struggled with motivation was fear. I didn't realize it at the time. I thought I lacked discipline. But really, I was afraid. Afraid of failing. Afraid of looking stupid. Afraid of putting in months of work only to end up nowhere. So instead of risking failure, I avoided starting. Because if I never tried, I'd never have to find out. It sounds ridiculous when you say it out loud, but I think a lot of us do exactly that. We call it procrastination. But underneath it, it's fear. And once I understood that, I stopped asking, why am I so unmotivated? And started asking, what am I avoiding? That question gave me answers I didn't expect. Sometimes I wasn't avoiding the work. I was avoiding the possibility that I wasn't as good as I hoped. Here's another lesson I wish I'd learned sooner. Stop relying on motivation. Build systems instead. Motivation comes and goes. Habits stay. There are days when I don't feel like working. Days when I don't feel like exercising. Days when I'd rather do absolutely nothing. But I don't need motivation every day anymore, because I've built routines. And routines don't ask how you feel. They simply ask whether you're going to show up. That one shift changed everything. People think disciplined people have endless motivation. Most of them don't. They've just stopped negotiating with themselves every morning. If they said they were going to do something, they do it, whether they feel like it or not. And finally, I had to stop expecting myself to be productive every single day. Some days you're going to feel tired. Some days you'll have less energy. Some days life gets in the way. That's normal. One bad day doesn't ruin your progress. One lazy afternoon doesn't erase months of consistency. The problem isn't missing one day. The problem is convincing yourself you've failed and giving up completely. If there's one thing I'd want you to remember from this video, it's this. Stop waiting to feel motivated, because motivation is a terrible leader. It disappears the moment things get difficult. Instead, take the first step anyway. Make it small. Make it easy. Show up even when you don't feel like it. Because once you begin, motivation has a funny way of catching up. And one day, you'll realize you were never waiting for motivation. You were waiting for yourself to start.